diseases. We have already learned about some of the reasons like microorganisms are the major cause for getting the diseases. So apart from that, so improper intake of food becomes another cause for getting the diseases. If the person is not having a well balanced food, so that becomes the reason to get the diseases. And apart from this, the person may be having some of the genetical reasons also. The cells having the DNA, if that contains some of the genetical diseases in that, so that get inherited from the parents to the children. Then there are some of the physiological reasons due to which the people may get some of the diseases like high blood pressure, diabetes, etc. So these are also called as lifestyle diseases. Due to sedentary or bad lifestyle, so people will get a series of different types of diseases. But here they have explained the causes of diseases in different contexts. So they have taken the example of a baby suffering from loose motion. Here, why that baby is suffering from loose motion or diarrhea? So the first and foremost, the primary or the immediate cause for getting this loose motion or diarrhea is virus. Due to the infection of the virus, the child has got this loose motion. So here the question comes, see why that child has been infected by this virus. So when we find the answer, so the answer may be the child has drunk unclean water. So virus has infected the child because it has drunk the unclean water. So the question comes, so why that particular child has got this infection? Because along with that child, so many other babies have also drunk that unclean water. Those babies have not got that disease, but this particular child has got this disease, that is loose motion. So here the question comes, so why that particular child has got infected by the virus? So then we think the answer that the child might have got malnourishment. So it is having lack of good nourishment. So it might have not fed properly with balanced diet. So why that child is not having the proper or a lack of nourishment? So here the question comes, maybe it is not having a proper economic background. So the family of the child is not well enough, is not having any proper source of income so that they provide a good nourishment to that child. So apart from this virus or the lack of good nourishment, so another reason is genetical difference. So due to that genetical difference, the child might have got or it has become prone to the disease, that is diarrhea. So the virus, then lack of good nourishment and the genetical difference, so all these forms the contributory causes. While we learned the primary or the immediate cause is virus, the secondary level cause is the lack of good nourishment. So at this juncture, so we can think of another question. So why that child has drunk unclean water? So the answer, when we find the answer, so we can think that so the child's family is not having a proper public service where it has become unable to provide clean drinking water to that family. So poverty or lack of public service becomes another cause for getting the disease. So the third level cause is poverty or the lack of public service. So like this we can learn so many different causes for getting the diseases. let us study the infectious and non-infectious causes of diseases. The causes of disease may be considered as two distinctive types. So one group of causes is infectious agents, mostly microbes or microorganisms. See, for any infectious disease, so the microorganisms are responsible for that. And the second group of causes are considered as non-infectious. Here, infectious diseases are said to be cholera, malaria, typhoid, tuberculosis or TB, etc. And non-infectious diseases may be diabetes, goiter, high blood pressure, and some of the cancerous growth. Here you are seeing the infectious agents, namely bacteria. So when we think about causes of diseases, it is important to keep the public health and community health factors in mind. So one group of causes is infectious agents, mostly the microorganisms. So diseases where microbes are the immediate causes are called infectious diseases. So microbes are the immediate causes because those can spread in the community and they cause diseases which will spread with them. So examples of some of the infectious diseases are typhoid. So you can see the organism which is responsible for causing typhoid. So that is Salmonella typhi. You can see the picture of these bacteria here which causes the typhoid disease. And another infectious disease caused by microbe called Plasmodium vivax. So it spreads the disease malaria. And you have polio which is caused by a virus, and cholera which is caused by another bacteria called Vibrio cholerae. So the second group of causes are considered as non-infectious. Here you are looking at a cancerous growth. So the causes of non-infectious agents vary and they are not external causes like microbes that can spread in community. So these are mostly internal. So non-infectious causes. These are mostly internal non-infectious causes. So examples, you can see the cancerous growth here, and you have high blood pressure and diabetes where there is excess amount of sugar in the blood. So for any disease there is an immediate cause. The cause may be infectious cause or non-infectious cause. The ways of disease spreading and the ways of treatment and prevention of disease at the community level are different for different diseases. The spreading of disease, its treatment and prevention depends on whether the immediate causes are infectious or non-infectious. Here you can see the differences between infectious and non-infectious causes for diseases. Infectious diseases are caused due to the attack of pathogens, whereas non-infectious diseases are caused by factors other than pathogens. Infectious diseases are caused due to extrinsic or external factors. Non-infectious diseases are caused due to intrinsic factors or internal factors. So infectious diseases are transmitted from one person to another person, whereas non-infectious diseases do not get transmitted from one person to another person. In infectious diseases, transmission of diseases occurs through direct contact or some medium, for example air, water or vectors. Here in non-infectious diseases, transmission in case of hereditary diseases is from parent to offspring, or it may be due to lifestyle disorders, for example high blood pressure or diabetes. So in infectious disease, community hygiene can reduce the occurrence of these diseases, whereas in non-infectious disease, community hygiene is ineffective in reducing the occurrence of these diseases. So we have learned that cholera, malaria, typhoid, tuberculosis are some of the examples of infectious diseases, whereas diabetes, high blood pressure, goiter, cancerous growth are considered as non-infectious diseases. So under the heading infectious diseases, we are learning 5 sub-concepts. Those are infectious agents, means of spread, organ-specific and tissue-specific manifestations, principles of treatment, principles of prevention. So, under the heading infectious diseases, we are learning 5 different subheadings. So, consisting of infectious agents, means of spread, organ-specific and tissue-specific manifestations, principles of treatment and principles of prevention. So, let us learn infectious diseases. So, under this heading, we have 5 subheadings: infectious agents, means of spread, organ-specific and tissue-specific manifestations, principles of treatment and principles of prevention. So, in that, we will study in detail about infectious agents. Here you are looking at the schematic representation of the 5 kingdom classification done by Robert H. Whittaker in 1969. Here all the living organisms have been classified into 5 kingdoms. So you are observing kingdom Monera, kingdom Protista, kingdom Fungi, kingdom Plantae and Animalia. So among these 5 kingdoms, the first 3 kingdoms mainly constitute microorganisms. So among them, majority of the microorganisms are said to be pathogens, that is, they cause various types of diseases. So here you can see the viruses. So these cause many dangerous diseases. So here you are seeing bacteria. Bacteria may be round shaped or rod shaped, namely cocci or bacilli. And you are seeing the fungal organisms. And here you are seeing the protozoans. And so these are worms which are macroscopic in nature, which causes serious disorders in the digestive system of human beings and other animals. So you are also learning some of the examples of these particular groups. So here you are seeing the SARS virus. In your textbook, they have given the SARS viruses which are coming out of the surface of an infected cell. So this SARS virus is an example for a virus. So here you can see examples of different types of microorganisms which gives us the idea of their size and shape. Here you are observing Staphylococcus. So it is a round shaped bacteria which causes acne in human beings. So here acne means, so when children attain adolescent period, so they develop pimples on their face. So the pimples, so they get severe due to this staphylococcal infection. Here you are observing Trypanosoma. It is a protozoan. So this organism is responsible for a disease called sleeping sickness. Next you are observing the Leishmania, which is also a protozoan. So this causes Kala Azar or black fever. So this organism is oval shaped, as you can see, and has long whip-like structure. And here you are seeing the Ascaris. The full name of this roundworm is Ascaris lumbricoides. So this causes digestive disorders in human beings. So these examples of diseases, these examples of disease causing microorganisms give us the idea of their size and shape. So let us look at some of the diseases caused by viruses. Here you can see the SARS virus, which cause a serious respiratory disorder in human beings. Here you are observing a group of viruses. Here you are seeing herpes virus, HIV virus, human immunodeficiency virus, Ebola virus, then adenovirus, influenza virus and hepatitis B virus. So all these viruses are said to cause a particular type of diseases. See, some of the common viral diseases we have heard are influenza, common cold, dengue fever, AIDS, polio, chikungunya, etc. So when we say list out some of the diseases, means you will list out all the types of diseases. So you will be not knowing whether the diseases are caused by particular type of microorganisms. Here we will get an idea. So viruses will cause which type of diseases. Then coming to the bacteria. So bacterial diseases. So you suppose if I say to you to tell the bacterial diseases, so you should be cautious to tell which are the bacterial diseases. So some of the examples are typhoid, cholera, tuberculosis or TB and anthrax. So these are the diseases which are caused by bacteria. Then you are seeing the fungi here. So one species of fungi you can notice here. So this is Aspergillus. So may not be this. So many fungal organisms cause a type of infection, mainly skin infections. Fungal organisms mainly cause skin infections. So they are called ringworm infections, and such as candidiasis. Here you are seeing some of the protozoan species. So these species cause the diseases like malaria, Kala Azar or black fever, amoebiasis, then sleeping sickness. So you can see a macroscopic form of an organism. You are seeing the roundworm. So you have learnt about flatworms also. So these cause serious digestive disorders in human beings. So one such example of the disease caused by this worm is elephantiasis. So elephantiasis, you have seen that slide of the person stuck with this elephantiasis. So here the worms will be inhabiting the lymphatic vessels of the human beings. So here the question comes, why we are separating all these diseases and disease causing infectious agents? So the answer may be, this classification is very important factor in deciding the kind of treatment that should be given to these particular types of diseases. See, we have learned virus cause some particular types of diseases and bacteria will cause particular type of diseases, likewise viruses and protozoans like that. So though all these microorganisms have many biological characters in common, they have some differences in their characters. So you are observing, here you are observing the viruses. All viruses live inside the host cells. So these viruses mainly need the body of the organisms, while bacteria live or proliferate outside the host cell or the human beings or other animals. So when you see these viruses and you see the bacteria and when you see fungi, So all these multiply very quickly, while these worms, they multiply very slowly. So here you can see all bacteria are closely related to each other. So when we study different types of bacteria, you have many types in them. So all types of bacteria are closely related to each other. But these bacteria will not be related to viruses. Similarly, viruses will not be resembling the characters of bacteria. So on the basis of this, so we will be studying how antibiotics act on these bacteria. So how these antibiotics will act on viruses. So we will learn now how antibiotics act on the bacteria. So any bacterial infection gets subsided by the action of antibiotics. So while the antibiotics, if they are prescribed to viral infections, so they will not be acting on those viral organisms. First of all, what are these antibiotics? So antibiotics are nothing but medicines prescribed by the physicians to the patient suffering from serious types of infections. So look at the diagram here. So this diagram is showing the cell wall of bacteria. So you will be wondering how this is a cell wall. So this is also cell wall of bacteria. So here you are observing the bacteria. You notice the cell wall of bacteria. So when you examine this cell wall under electron microscope, it looks like this. You will be studying all these things in your higher classes. So the bacteria, for its survival, will be synthesizing the cell wall. So you will be knowing that these bacteria also causes serious infections in human beings. So when physicians prescribe the antibiotics for the patients, so those drugs or medicines, that is antibiotics, act on the bacteria. So these bacteria, by the action of antibiotics, they will not be able to synthesize the cell wall. So due to that, the bacteria will simply get die. So bacteria will die because of the action of these antibiotics. So whereas this virus, you can see the structure of virus. You cannot be able to see any cell wall here. So the same antibiotics, if they are prescribed to viral infections, they will be not acting on these viruses. So viral infections will not be affected by any type of medicines. So it has to get subsided by its own. So let us learn this in detail. All bacteria are closely related to each other, but they are not related to viruses and vice versa. So the life processes will be taking place inside the cells of the bacteria. So what are the life processes taking place inside the bacteria? So those are, for example, digestion, respiration, like that. So the life processes like digestion and respiration are similar in all types of bacteria, and these life processes are not shared with the viral group. So these bacteria will be performing some of the life processes inside them. So these pathways of the life processes will not be shared by bacteria with that of the viruses. So in viruses we find separate life processes. The mechanism of life process is separate in viruses when compared to bacteria. So as a result, drugs or medicines that act upon one bacterial member of the group will act upon many other members of the group. So as you have seen in the earlier slide, we have many types of bacterial species. So the antibiotic will be acting on all the types of bacteria. But the same medicine will not work on viruses. So now there is an opportunity for us to learn how medicines or antibiotics act on disease causing microorganisms. We will now know, you can see the structure of the virus, HIV virus. Here you can see the icosahedral togaviridae flaviviridae. The structure of virus you can see here. You cannot be observing any cell wall here. So here we will know how antibiotics will act on the synthesis of bacterial cell wall. So bacterial cell wall will not be synthesized because of the action of these antibiotics. So now antibiotics act on bacteria. So bacteria synthesizes the cell wall to protect themselves. For example, the antibiotic penicillin blocks the bacterial processes that build the cell wall. You have learned, you have observed that a popular antibiotic, that is penicillin, will be prescribed in the government hospitals. So that is a common type of antibiotics we can see. So this penicillin blocks the bacterial processes that build the cell wall. As a result, the growing bacteria become unable to make the cell walls and die easily. So anyway, we will be consuming the antibiotic. So the bacteria which live inside the body of human beings will be died, but so these antibiotics will also act on the cells of the human body. But as the human cells don't make the cell wall, penicillin cannot have any bad effect on us. So penicillin will have this effect on the bacteria and any other type of bacteria. Similarly, many bacteria work against many types of antibiotics work against many types of bacteria. See, but viruses. So what happens in the viruses? So in the viruses, but viruses do not use any type of the pathways at all. Use these type of pathways, that is the cell wall synthesis as we observed in bacteria will not be observed in viruses. So that means no cell wall is synthesized in viruses. So that is the reason why antibiotics cannot work against viral infections. See, I will tell you the common instance we see in our daily life. So we will go to the physician when we have some serious infections. Suppose we have common cold. So common cold is the disease which occurs by the infection of viruses. So what happens if the physician prescribes the antibiotics for that viral infection, common cold? So that antibiotic will not be acting on this viral infection. So physician simply prescribes the antibiotics. So those antibiotics intake by the human beings simply get wasted. However, that prescription of the antibiotic for the patient suffering from viral infection becomes useful. So if that person has been infected by the secondary infection by bacteria. However, when we get the bacterial infection along with the viral infection like common cold, so taking antibiotics will help. So even then the antibiotic will work only against the bacterial part of the infection but not the viral infections. So bacterial infection gets subsided by the intake of these antibiotics, but whatever that person has got infected with a viral infection, it has to get subsided by its own. So this is what the mechanism of the antibiotic action on human beings. So we should be cautious while we take the antibiotics for any types of infections.